capitalistic death cult that values profits over the long-term health of humanity. What can be done to stop them and save the future of civilization? Find out only on Hard News.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that. It's that like the accelerationism's coming in the form of like, what message is it going to send if you have a cop with a fucking sniper rifle trained on students perched from on high? I mean, no matter what argument you put forward, if you're like, oh, well, that's just to keep the peace. Well, that's just in case. Well, that's in case things get wild. It's like, yeah, but like once you start training guns on people, that will add, you're accelerating, right? It's just going to make the situation infinitely more potentially dangerous. You're now sending, and with intent, fear into the hearts of children who are sitting there in their tents wondering what's going to happen next. I'm going to try and be as brave as I can, but like I don't have a criminal record yet. This is new. If there are cops that are rushing in here to arrest us, and in a lot of the cases I see an outpouring of horrifying stories that are all being done by pro-Israeli agitators, saying anti-Semitic slogans, committing acts of violence, trying to instigate situations, or the outpouring of people who are taking upon themselves to pretend like they're under attack or duress, getting on the phone and being like, hey, I'm being held against my will. And then everyone in the background's like, no, you are not. You are free to go. There's no one blocking your path. No one is trying to stop you. You can walk right through. Yeah, there's so many people here and they're getting ready to attack me. And there's nowhere I can go. It's like this person is not under any threat of physical violence. We're not intimidating them. They are not being detained. They are free to go. It's just wild. To recap or replay of the 60s movement, I mean, that was before my time, and obviously I have to learn about it through TV and history, but that sucks, because, it is something that I did watch and read about and learn about, and now seeing it all happen all over again, and I'm like, well, we learned about what to do with the whole anti-war movement, which is to ignore the protesters, to continue business as usual, and it's the protesters who are the enemies, and they're gonna turn violent any moment now. You gotta watch out. They're gonna turn violent. All right. Speak. Okay, just a wild story for 2 seconds here. I only just found out about this before I started streaming. At first glance, the Ottawa International Food and Book Expo might sound like any other ordinary event at a social calendar for local foodies and bookworms. I like books. I like food. I'm on board. But not only will this year's event platform several far-right speakers linked to the 2022 Freedom Convoy occupation, a number of the festival's corporate sponsors and key employees also appear to be misleading or fake. This year's event, held at the historic Horticulture Building at Lansdowne Park, is being promoted by Ottawa Tourism as a celebration of literary culture, crafts, and food. The festival MC's former Much Music VJ, it was a thing, all right? Okay, you had your MTV in America. In Canada, we had Much Music. And instead of having hosts of Much Music shows, they were called VJs, video DJs, and it was a cool time, because basically you got to pretend that you were cooler than the rest of the kids who were all into like Backstreet Boys and like NSYNC and stuff. And you'd be like, no, I'm into new metal and like West Coast hip hop, and this is the real shit, Yeah, let's listen to some Korn, and fucking let's see our favorite VJs tell us what to listen to. It's hosting a, quote, cougar dating event for singles looking to partner with a, quote, cub. What? That's like, when I was reading into this wording, this was the part of the story where it's like, well, that took a weird twist real fast. Okay, wait, what is going on here? What is going on? Straight people. Have the straights done this? Have they done a strange? While this may sound like your kind of weekend, a closer look does raise a few red flags. One panel features the Ontario PC MPP and anti-lockdown activist Randy Hillier, convoy leader Tom Quiggin, and True North Andrew Lawton. Another panel features the People's Party Maxime Bernier. Yes, the same. Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada. The Ottawa Book Expo's social media ads also feature scantily clad models, AI models maybe, in suggestive poses, something that might seem slightly off topic for a literary festival. Yeah, it's getting weird. It's getting weirder. I'm just going to put this out there. I think, like, if the queers tried any of this, like even a fucking maybe 5 percentile of this, if it's like, hey, would you like to come to, say, a pottery festival? And it's like, okay, neat. What's at the pottery festival? Sexy times. Immediately. We'd be like, that's a grooming grooming festival. That's a grooming festival to groom kids right there. That's where they're pedophiles, pedos, rapists, PDF files. Stop. Whoop. Police, FBI, CSIS. Bomb it. Burn it all with fire, like instantaneously. Right. That's all it would take just to be like, sexy pottery, ghost, but it's like two women. It's like instead of like, the man woman dynamic, it's like two women, but same song and everything, but it's cute, but it's ghost, but they're lesbians, and it's wholesome. No grooming event to groom, shut it down. But this is a literary festival. This is to learn, gotta go there. In a statement to Press Progress late Friday night, the Embassy of Mexico, which had been scheduling to host a celebration of Mexican-Canadian literature, said it had canceled its participation in the event. Wow. What are these people doing? Okay, so once again, if you're like, I'm so confused. Lance, I'm confused. What's going on? Okay, so people who are associated with the People's Party of Canada, the far-right anti-vax fuck Trudeau party, they have teamed up with some of the Freedom Trucker Convoy people to throw a literary festival, but also horny. I don't know why. They had to throw horny into it. It's just random. It makes the whole thing strange and unique and hilarious. Honestly, the only stories of any kind of like distraction for me right now are the obsession with like, grown ass 40-year-old men going and broadcasting the deepest, most like embarrassing potential shit you ever could imagine, but doing it for free, like not under duress or torture or anything. They're just going out there and being like, 25% of the cleavage is gone from Stellar Blade, and Jesus Christ, is this a bit? Is this a kink? I can't tell yet. I will figure that out. This is another one of those just like, wait, why? Who? What earthly being told you this was a good idea? Like, I'm not even gonna say my brothers in Christ, because Christ has no place here, all right? No, leave Jesus out of this. This is deeply fucked up and strange. Why did you do this? I don't understand. I don't get what's going on here. It's so delightfully strange, And again, it's we can only laugh at this and enjoy laughing at this, because again, no one got hurt yet. It's just like you found out about it. But I contend that if the LGBTQ plus community tried anything remotely close to this, if you even tried to be like, hey, it's a gay candle making course and it's going to be sexy, but like not like, we're not talking fisting each other with candles, nothing wild, not X-rated, not art, like just like, hey, do you want to have a sexy night with your partner? Come on down, we'll teach you how to make candles and chocolate, it'll be fun, but no PDA, no touching each other, no nothing, no, very, very PG rated, all right, like a PG-13 even, PG-13, but fun candles, sexy times. That would be like, again, there would be riots. People would burn down the fucking community center. There would be no chance. The parents would be like, this is the pedophile factory where the pedophiles are created right here, ground zero for the pedos. They're forged inside. They're forging them in there, and it would just be oh god, that sucks. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be a wholesome night for couples to go and have. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. Different times, scary times. Argonian Bum, welcome to the stream, and can everyone go to twitch.tv/Argonian Bum and welcome to the stream. Sorry, yes, you did jump into a wild rant, but let's just say there's an event taking place in Ottawa, and it's strange. It's a combination of the Mexican embassy, a food expo, also horny. Also for cougars to meet cubs. So this is a cougar dating event. Like, I don't know who organized, like, from what angle. I'm so confused. Was this like horny women who were like, they want to meet younger men on the far right, and they're hoping to do like a libertarian style thing where they're like, hey, this is like a trucker rally for all you like young studs who are looking for your like, milfy mummies. Was that aspect? But then why turn it into like a cultural center exchange with like the tourism board and try to get Mexico involved until Mexico saw what was up, and they were like, no. What the fuck? Why did you invite us? ¿Por qué? Like, why would you invite us to this whole thing? Other organizations listed as sponsors and partners also want their logos removed from the festival's website, though they say it's because they never sponsored the festival in the first place. The festival's About Us page identifies the WCNY, a PBS affiliate in Santa Cruz, New York, as an official sponsor, while a page selling vendor tables and sponsorship features logos of the Hill Times newspaper and the Ottawa Public Library. Say it ain't so. Okay, hold on. I just want to open this off stream just to make sure there's not going to be a pop-up like, are you looking for your dummy mummy? Are you a cub looking for the MILF of your dreams? Okay. Oh, it's in the archive. Did they delete the website? Uh-oh. All right, there's no revealing information. Okay, we're good. Man, look at this website. The Ottawa International Food and Book Expo. Sold out. Join vendor list, waiting space, programming. And then right it goes to the Embassy of Mexico, still on the website. Well, sorry, before it was archived. Mexico, Canada. The 80th anniversary of diplomatic relations. It all seems so official. Martin Mocuzet Garcia, Gonzalo Oim Mejia, David Verrute, Alexa Berrera, Antonia Ortiz Muer, Dalia Mendoza. To foster dialogue between content creators and users, the UNAM Canada will present digital publications stemming from academic research which have the potential to reach global audiences instantly. Thanks to online platforms provided by the National Autonomous University of Mexico, digital dissemination democratizes access to information. Is this written by AI? This sounds like AI. Oh my god, is this like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fucking style event, but for weird, horny cougar right-wingers looking to seduce young men? Is that what I'm seeing before me? Have the straights lost their mind? I gotta say, this one, the far right are not sending their best, but hey, at least Mexico's not sending anyone at all. The Ottawa International Food and Book Expo. Mexican authors main stage pass. Not featuring any actual authors from Mexico, though. Okay, and there was also an International Book Expo. Cool. I don't get why throw in the horny. That's the part of the style that doesn't make any sense. Oops, I lost the story. Hold on. We'll bring it back. I gotta finish this because I'm more curious than I are. Okay, hold on. I gotta find out. All right, scroll past the horny. All three organizations deny they are sponsors or partners of the event. We're not participating this year, nor do we have any ongoing partnership with the organizers. The Hill Time publisher Arimen Kresge said the newspaper is not a sponsor of this event. We'll be asking them to remove our logo from their website. Ray Samuels, the main organizer of the Ottawa Book Expo, says he's not at liberty to explain why the Hill Times logo was displayed on the website. I'm not privy to talk to a third party about a situation that does not involve the third party for confidentiality purposes. This sounds like, you know, literally coming out of like the mouth of a lawyer into your brain. It would be improper for us to have that conversation. Despite his policy, Samuels acknowledged receiving an email from the PBS affiliate demanding he remove their logo as an official sponsor. He claimed the logo, which is displayed on the festival's About Us page, was part of an old part of the site and claimed they'd participated not this year. Okay, so what I'm getting vibes of now is that you took over this kind of event, and in doing so, you tried to turn it into your own strange, horny thing, but you kept all the logos and official sponsors, and even the connection to maybe the Embassy of Mexico. The PBS spokesperson clarified the WNY is not a sponsor of the event. They included our logo as a sponsor for the last year's event, which was brought to attention via social media. We emailed them to tell them to take it down. Two other PBS affiliates in Waterloo and Plattsburgh, New York, confirmed they are a media sponsor, but clarified it is non-monetary. Okay. Mark Pressun, president of WPBS, said they only agreed as part of a brief international spot of the event. I'm not an event sponsor. I've taken them to remove my logo. Ooh, this seems rather depressing. We recognize the possibility that people who may come down to see some of the speakers of the Ottawa Food and Book Expo are likely to express support for adjacent far-right movements, promoting conspiratorial tropes, alienating Muslims, and making harmful misinformation claims about gender-affirming care, or to us LGBTQIA+ people. We think it's important that Ottawa residents, which includes people who live or work close to the Ottawa Food and Book Expo, and attendees of the nearby functions like the PWHL game of Saturday, who are speaking at their community. The CSO has concerns about Ray Samuels, an event organizer, which describes the anti-vaccine advocate or conspiracy theory vlogger aspect of it. See, this is looking way more like what I'd expect. Like just a whole bunch of old white dudes being like, they put the vaccine inside of the turnips. The Ottawa International Food and Book Expo bills itself as a community-driven not-for-profit. They run Angora Publishing, a not-for-profit corporation. They talk about UFO activists. Okay. Anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist David Icke is going to be there. Oh, no, they promoted events with him. They have a volunteer manager. COVID-19, the truth seekers, find out more. So everything here seems pretty standard for like your regular conspiratorial event, except for the fact that they actually had like, they tried to tie in the Mexican embassy. That part is really funny, but also the whole like meet the cougars thing. Like, are you a cub looking for your cougar? That part like the predatory kind of like, you know, straight women looking for younger men part is also very weird. I don't know who's that coming from either. Is that coming from the far right's like younger men or the far right's older women? Who is trying to organize that for whom? That part is still left to mystery. You know, I mean, we'll figure it out, I guess, eventually. I did learn some things, though. Can everyone go to twitch.tv/Argonianbum? Give Argonianbum a follow back.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's in Saudi Arabia while Hamas has sent negotiators to Cairo as talks continue over a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of more hostages. On Sunday, President Biden spoke by phone with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. On Saturday, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called on the U.S. to halt Israel's planned attack on Rafah.
So, yeah, what? Angry call? Happy call? Were they frenzies? What were they doing? High fives, sharing stories, talking about my wife or something like that? Like, what were they doing? I just, like, honestly, again, this is one of those situations where I think it's pretty evident that by the numbers, if you do the math, Israel would not be able to wage this many wars on this many different countries, on this many fronts simultaneously without the direct backing of the United States. So the people who keep saying that, like, Biden doesn't have the power to end this isn't Biden's war. He simply got pulled into it. My hands are tied. I have no choice but to keep sending billions and billions of dollars worth of weapons. He'd end this tomorrow if he really wanted to. He doesn't want to.
We hope that Israel stops doing this attack, and we call on the United States of America to ask Israel to not carry on this Rafah attack, because America is the only country able to prevent Israel from committing this crime.
Over the weekend, Israel repeatedly bombed areas of Rafah. In one attack, Israel killed 9 members of the same family, including a baby. On Friday, an Israeli airstrike on Gaza City killed the daughter and grandson of the prominent Palestinian poet Rafat al-Arir, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike in December. Shaima Rafat al-Arir died Friday, along with her husband and 2-month-old son. Shaima had recently written a message on Facebook addressed to her late father, writing, quote, "I have a beautiful news for you. I wish I could convey it to you while you are in front of me. I present to you your first grandchild. Do you know, my father, that you have become a grandfather?"
How are you, like, seeing any of this and then getting mad at students, right? Like fucking college kids. And then being like, you know who the real enemy is? The kids protesting this. The people disgusted by this, you know, just everyone who's just like, make this stop, make this nightmare stop, end it, stop it. They're not listening. They're not listening to the letters. They're not listening to the phone calls. They're not listening to the protests. They're not listening to us blocking fucking weapons manufacturers and streets and signs and stuff. Now we're camping on campus, and it's like, yep, those are the bad guys right there. The people who are disgusted at seeing entire families and bloodlines get bombed every single day to death. Those are the bad guys.
This is your grandson, Abdurrahman, whom I have long imagined you carrying, but I never imagined that I would lose you early, even before you see him, she wrote. The website Electronic Intifada reports Shaima Rafat al-Arir and her family were killed while sheltering in the building of Global Communities, an international relief charity. Police across the United States made at least 275 arrests over the weekend as campus protests against Israel's assault on Gaza continue.
275. Like, again, it's just like, it's so wild. You don't need like a time machine to know how certain people would have behaved at different periods in time. Everyone now who likes to say like, oh, well, hey, I was the smartest kid in the class. Smartest kid in the room, actually. I knew that it was bad for the United States to invade Iraq the second time. I knew that was bad. I wasn't feeling it. You know, I mean, Afghanistan kind of post 9/11, you know, we were horny for war, all that kind of stuff. So that made sense. So that's where Osama bin Laden was supposed to be. And so, yeah, I understood that invasion. But then, yeah, the second invasion of Iraq was a little more complex. So I was one of the only people who was like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe in the pursuit of fighting terrorism, we're making the world less safe, including American lives. Maybe, right? Same thing with like the Vietnam War. You're like, yeah, I mean, hey, everyone I know would have definitely been opposing the United States doing that. It was imperialism, especially all the illegal bombing campaigns of countries that never even attacked the United States and all the devastating effects they had. Honestly, just war criminals of the highest order. It's a good, like, honestly, it's really upsetting to me that we never ended up trying Henry Kissinger at any period in his life, or any of the other war criminals involved in any of that. In fact, it's just wild how American people in positions of power keep getting away with all this. You know exactly now how they would have acted. Because you're seeing it right, and you're seeing the same justifications, the same people who now are like, well, yes, but these student protesters, they're violating the personal safety of other students, and they're chanting horrifying slogans, and they're saying bad things like calling people baby killers. You have blood on your hands. Baby killers. How dare they say things like that, and saying end the genocide, end the occupation. How dare they say things like this, right?
To spread. In Boston, police detained about 100 people after students set up a Palestine solidarity encampment on the campus of Northeastern University. The school justified the raid, citing what it called virulent anti-Semitic slurs after someone chanted "Kill the Jews" at the encampment. But video and eyewitness testimony revealed the anti-Semitic chant was actually done by a counter-protester holding an Israeli flag. The group Huskies for a Free Palestine said, quote, "The only people hurling anti-Semitic slurs last night were Zionist counter-protesters attempting to instigate our peaceful encampment. Despite this, the university exploited this moment to lie about our encampment and justify the brutal arrest of over 100 students," they said.
By the way, how's the vote shaming strategy working out for everybody? Do Americans approve or disapprove of Joe Biden? As of April 29, 2024, plus 16.4 disapprove from numerous polls. Harris X Poll, YouGov, CNN, Quinnipiac University, Monmouth University Polling, Gallup, American Research Group, Marist College. There seems to be a pretty concerning trend of disapprove, plus 10, plus 17, plus 23, plus 18, plus 20, plus 26, plus 28, plus 15. Now, hey, by the way, this is not the same as will Joe Biden win the election or will Joe Biden defeat Donald Trump? Those are two very different questions. Is this working? Is this strategy working? Are people more happy? Are they becoming more satisfied? Are they enjoying watching what's taking place? Even your own base, right? You know, you always boast about how the Democrats are made up of younger voters, inspired voters, younger generations, diverse groups of voters as well. People of color. There's not simply a white base of the Democratic Party. Women, of course, who want bodily autonomy in the face of the Republicans, trying to take that from them. Absolutely, for sure. But also a lot of people outraged and disgusted. And yeah, there's like, business as usual is not going to work. Who, of all the people who are receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars for consulting to talk about how, hey, yeah, we should probably analyze what we're seeing before our very eyes, this is not going away. People aren't able to just turn this one off. They're not able to just keep ignoring it. I know, let's have the White House Correspondents Dinner and do the laughy laugh and all have fun and stuff. But it could also be in really fucked up poor taste in the midst of all this to try and do that. Just a real brutal disconnect. The whole thing, both visually and optically, it's going to look and feel just kind of like a let them eat cake moment, especially when there's forced starvation taking place. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
In St. Louis, police arrested more than 80 people at a pro-Palestine encampment at Washington University. The arrested included Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein. At Arizona State University, police made around 70 arrests on Friday as they broke up an encampment on Alumni Lawn. At Indiana State University, state police arrested 33 people Friday as they broke up an encampment on the Bloomington campus. Despite the police crackdown, campus encampments continue to spread, including at CUNY, the City University of New York.
Today we have an encampment in City College, City University of New York, and we are demanding that CUNY divests and be transparent with the investment. And we are demanding that students, workers of CUNY cannot be harassed, cannot be doxxed for standing up for Palestine.
On Saturday, protesters rallied outside the White House Correspondents Association dinner in Washington.
By the way, so I've been going to a lot of the post-October 7th rallies here in Vancouver, and I'll tell you this, at these rallies, which are, again, incredibly diverse, you will see a very, very large amount of Jewish people holding up signs and banners and throwing and organizing a lot of these rallies, as you will see Muslim and Arab people doing the very same. You know who's the loudest and the angriest is younger people. And younger people who are incredibly frustrated with the system. And yes, younger people with a lot of energy. You certainly notice that as me, an older person at these protests who's been going to them for a very long time. You notice that and you start seeing it. There's a galvanization that's taking place. And I think there's this disconnect with the older generation where they really feel that if we just get enough influencers, I know some people are going to be mad, some people are feeling radical, and some people, yes, are a little bit Antifa. But if we get the right amount of influencers, the right combination of them, and we get them to do a couple like, did you know that like the vaccine is on the line, and then like do those kind of like, you know, Instagram videos, that will eventually be able to convince the youth to get on board and you know, join in on the democratic process. And it's like people are getting radicalized well beyond what you were worried about the Hassan Pikers having done to them, right? Like there was so much concern about, oh yes, if a couple of these postmodern neo-Marxists go onto the internet and say the right couple of things, it might radicalize the youth. You're losing entire generations. Entire generations who don't want to fucking be a part of any of it. You know, like you don't need the people handing out books being like, have you read the Communist Manifesto, to recognize how rapidly people are being radicalized in the face of reality. That's it though, right? It's reality. It's like the lie you've been sold to, or you're still trying to sell people on, that this is in the common good. It's in our interest to fight terrorists overseas, to manufacture all of these weapons and to spend all of these resources and destroy the planet in pursuit of bombing the poor. And it's like, because it keeps us safer at home. And it's like, but it doesn't, does it? Because the people I see attacking us right now are also the state attacking the students who are like, don't do the genocide to uphold the interests of another nation. Again, why are we doing all this? What the fuck's going on here? Whole thing's broken, it feels.
Washington, D.C., protesters staged a die-in to honor the more than 140 journalists killed in Gaza during Israel's assault. Protesters screamed, "Shame on you," as journalists dressed in black tie attire entered the Washington Hilton. Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin was violently thrown out of the hotel as she attempted to hold up a sign reading, "100 members of the press killed in Gaza."
Ugh.
I was standing here quietly with this sign and got so roughed up by the security and thrown out of the hotel. It's quite...
Pendulous Dragon, thank you very much for the $1.99. America, where we arrest people for being anti-genocide. Not just America, Canada too. Seems to be happening in Europe as well. France is cracking down, and cracking down real hard. Argonian Bum, thanks for resubscribing. And everyone, again, check out twitch.tv/Argonian Bum.
ironic because tonight was all about press freedom, and it seems like standing here with the sign is something that's a lot worse than 100 journalists in Gaza being killed.
During his remarks at the White House Correspondents Dinner, President Biden made no mention of Gaza, but he repeatedly criticized Donald Trump, who he called Sleepy Don, after the former president repeatedly fell asleep during his criminal trial in New York. The U.S. State Department's decided against placing sanctions on the Israeli military, despite a finding that 3 Israeli units had committed, quote, gross human rights violations, unquote, against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank prior to October 7th. Last week, there were press reports that the Biden administration was preparing to impose sanctions on Netzeh Yehuda, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish battalion, but the administration has since reversed course. In other State Department news, Reuters is reporting some senior officials within the department have advised Secretary of State Blinken that Israel's not using U.S.-supplied weapons in accordance with international law. In a memo to Blinken, the officials cite the, quote, unconscionably high levels of civilian harm and Israel's, quote, killing humanitarian workers and journalists at an unprecedented rate, unquote. In related news, the New York Times reports the Israeli government fears the International Criminal Court may soon issue arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, over the war on Gaza and for Israel's blocking of humanitarian aid. Hamas officials could also face ICC arrest warrants over the attack on October 7th. Meanwhile, Israeli authorities arrested 7 people, including a number of rabbis and Jewish American peace activists who tried to bring aid into Gaza on Friday. We'll speak with the Israeli.
I heard about this. Like, rabbis were denied entry, and that's exactly what they were trying to do. And I was like, that is such a powerful story. It's also just a powerful image to watch.
Israeli-American author Ayelet Waldman and Rabbi Alyssa Wise both were arrested Friday on the Gaza border. Plans for a Freedom Flotilla to sail from Turkey to Gaza with 5,000 tons of life-saving aid have stalled after Guinea-Bissau decided to remove its flag from 2 of the vessels on the flotilla following pressure from Israel. We'll speak with an organizer of the flotilla after headlines. Ukrainian troops have begun retreating from several villages in eastern Ukraine as Russia intensifies its attacks while Ukraine waits for a new shipment of arms from the United States. Over the weekend, Russian forces reportedly captured 2 villages in the Donetsk region. Russia has also ramped up attacks on Ukraine's railroad station in an attempt to disrupt weapons supply routes. In political news, Arizona Republicans have named an accused fake elector for Donald Trump as a National Committee member for the Republican National Committee. Arizona State Senator Jake Hoffman was indicted last week with 17 others in the plot to overturn President Biden's 2020 win in Arizona. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations launched a probe into the recent death of Frank Tyson, a 53-year-old black man who died after police pinned him to the ground inside a bar. Body cam video shows Tyson repeatedly said, "I can't breathe," but officers ignored his pleas as he lost consciousness. The body cam video shows police waited 5 minutes to check for his pulse, then another 3 minutes before CPR was started. One officer is heard joking, saying, quote, "I've always wanted to be in a bar fight. I don't know if this counts." Unquote. Frank Tyson died just 12 days after being released from 24 years in prison. In Colorado, former paramedic Jeremy Cooper has been sentenced to 4 years of probation with 14 months of work release after he was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the 2019 death of Elijah McClain, the 23-year-old black man who was walking home from the store when he was tackled by police, placed in a carotid hold, and later injected with ketamine. Yeah. In March, another paramedic, Peter Kuchiniak, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in McClain's death. And in Australia, thousands of people took to the streets in nationwide protests demanding an end to gender-based violence. The rallies come amidst a wave of violent crimes against women, including a mass stabbing in Sydney earlier this month, where 5 out of the 6 fatal victims were women. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese addressed the crowd, calling the situation a national crisis and an epidemic. This is Natalie, one of the demonstrators.
I think the government needs to declare this devastating thing that's happening to women as a national emergency. Enough women have died, 26, and it's really, really upsetting. I think we're human. We shouldn't be getting killed.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy.
Yeah, before we get to the dog shooting, and obviously we'll talk about that. Oh yeah, I just saw this, by the way. The top 1% of U.S. earners now have more wealth than the middle class, like the entire middle class. Share of all household wealth by year, quarter 2, 1993 to 2023. Top 1%, and then the middle class wealth reaching around 25% of the wealth. Now they've crossed over. We're entering the new Gilded Age. So, yeah. Here's some of the things that have happened. I'm not sure if you saw this, but people are showing up to the student protests and they're trying to get quotes, trying to get comments, trying to get people to say things, use incendiary language perhaps, or slogans that are very controversial.
Craziness that's happening on college campuses, especially at UCLA. So I decided to come here for myself. Do you mind if I interview?
I'm not going to talk to media.
Excuse me, do you guys want to tell me what's going on here?
No, sorry, we're not letting any media in the camp, just so you know.
Okay, we were just standing outside, just trying to. Are we allowed to ask you guys a few questions about it? A lot of us just don't feel comfortable.
I can direct you to.
Holy fuck. God damn. Gen Z. y'all got organized, you know? Again, it's one of those things where there's only so much you can do in terms of being like, you know, here's a show on the internet. I got some theory behind me. I'm going to tell y'all about the theory and some tactics you should be using when you get, and then nah. Fucking, nah. Kids like, no, fucking shut up, Grandpa. We're organized. We know. The whole purpose of a lot of these agitators, you'll see in a lot of these campaigns that have been done, everything from someone getting violently and brutally stabbed in the eye, aka someone walked by them and brushed them, to people screaming horrifying anti-Semitic slogans that turn out to not be members of the encampments themselves, they turn out to be pro-Israeli agitators, is to get camera footage and video footage of the protesters looking and doing horrifying things or horrible things, because then it could be a lot more justified when you have the police using and enacting state violence, very expensive state violence, by the way, at the cost to the taxpayer, upon kids who are protesting genocide. See, on paper, that sounds fucking really bad, you know? Like, holy shit, the cops are here. Yeah, what are they doing? Are they going to arrest the arms manufacturers who are sending the bullets that are going to kill babies across, like, the sea? Is that what they're doing? No. The people who are mad about that, who are upset about that, who are trying to protest that, they're going to go arrest them. Them who are, yes, peacefully protesting. Yeah, non-violent resistance, I believe, is what they're trying to use. But they're going to be met with violence. Yes, extreme violence. And so there will be some people who try to infiltrate that movement and try to get quotes. You know, it's like, hey, by the way, from the river to... when I say kill the, you say, you know, that kind of stuff. And then when you show up, well, a lot of people have now been trained to be like, I'm sorry, I'm not the media liaison. I'm not the person who's supposed to speak to you. There is a website you can go to. There's a list of demands, yes, that we have made. It's just basically to divest from the military-industrial complex. That's what we're asking for. And yeah, you can speak to one of our members of the media.
Media liaison? We're not gonna interview with you today. We're not gonna engage with people that are gonna be pushing us.
Never seen anything like this in my life.
No, agitators aren't allowed.
Talk to one of our media. They won't speak to me. No one will speak to me.
There's a desk over there with media.
This is such a beautiful piece of agitprop, like unintentional, not knowingly made, but like honestly, from the scary music to just showing like, look at them, they're all wearing masks and some kind of scarves. I'm told it's a keffiyeh. I'm not sure, some kind of terrorist identifying mark, I believe, if I'm not entirely mistaken, but none of them will speak to me. I've never seen anything more frightening in my life. None of them will give me attention and let me make content out of them. None of them.
Spoken to them, they won't speak to me.
Well, then you can try again.
I've tried, and this lady specifically is telling me I'm an agitator.
Nothing more haunting than people refusing to interact with you, not consenting to interact with you.
Don't engage with agitators in this.
I'm just trying to understand what you're protesting. For some reason, no one from your guys' team will let you guys speak. And I don't know why you guys can't speak to me.
Please start crying. Why? Why won't you let me make content? Get that angle. Get him or that. Why? No, show me cry. Yeah. Why won't you let me make content out of you? Any of you?
And like, this is so intimidating and scary for you guys to be standing there. I literally have.
I have been in some really scary moments in my life. All right, when I was but a wee lad, I worked as a bar back in a club in Vancouver for a long time, and that was some scary nights. I saw some gang fights. I saw some full-on people throwing chairs and then pulling knives out on each other and that kind of stuff. And I was like, holy shit, this is messed up. And yeah, I was worried about my personal safety. Standing around a group of people, like holding hands, being like, we don't want to talk to you. With like multiple possible exit routes all around you, like, yeah, no, this is not what I would be considered intimidated, especially if I was the one approaching them, like me going up to a group of people being like, why won't you talk to me? Why won't you talk to me? Talk to me. Like, I feel like you're not in any real danger here. But it is scary. It is scary. All these faceless people refusing to answer questions. Ominous, mysterious, frightening even.
Walked around for the past 2 hours just asking peaceful questions like, what's going on here today? Why are you guys here? And no one can speak to me. And you guys are laughing. I don't understand how this is funny.
Again, well, but like, bravo. Again, I guess a lot of people have had a lot more training, and no, yes, not to just randomly speak to potential agitators who show up to protests to disrupt them or to paint people who are protesting as something other than what they're trying to accomplish. Like, I think it's a beautiful thing to see, and to such a degree, and to be so effective that you move someone to tears, to actual tears. You know, I don't understand. Just get film me looking at her. I don't understand. Why would they talk to me? It doesn't make sense.
I genuinely wanted to learn from you, and I wish we could have ended in a hug. That's actually what I hoped from this. That's my dream from all of this, that we could understand each other.
Wild. But it's just like, it's weird though that, like, you know, when anyone maybe looks up your content or goes to your channel or watches the other stuff that you've made, that it's not really about like give love a chance, peace and happiness, and put flowers in the gun barrel and that kind of stuff. A lot more of it has to do with like, hey, by the way, look at these wild Antifa people, and look at this, and oh, wokeness is destroying society, and hey, look, it's a grooming, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like, it sounds nice. I just wanted to hug you all. I thought we were all gonna hug and sing songs together, but instead you're not answering questions.
By
the way, I love that she put that up herself. Like, that's her edit. That's not mine. There's a lot of this going on, by the way.
They're surrounding me. They won't let me move.
No, you are free to move. You are free to move. She is free to move.
And I think like one of the good reasons to show this is that like you are seeing the stories that are coming out, thankfully being debunked by places like even the Daily Beast was like, hey, by the way, all these horrifying anti-Semitic comments that you heard, they were done by pro-Israeli agitators who were trying to bait people into saying horrifying anti-Semitic stuff. But like laughing at a lot of the more ridiculous like protests like this one, for example, where it's like people are literally in this video call or video recording saying, we're not holding this person against their will. We don't know who they are. They are free to leave. They can leave at any time. There are multiple pathways they could take. We're not obstructing their ability to leave, right? And that person's just standing there on the phone with their dog being like, I'm under so much danger. They're all going to attack me. I can't leave. Help me, police, please.
She's free to move. She's free to leave. She is free to leave. No one
yeah.
is surrounding her. She is free to leave.
Like, if there was a swarm of people who just like suddenly formed a circle around her and all locked up arms and were like, you are not leaving because you are genocider or something like that, that would be a completely different story. We're talking about someone who just walked up to a group of protesters, got on the phone and was like, hi, my life is in danger. I need the police. Is this not pissing off the Blue Lives Matter crowd? Like, I thought you wanted more money for the police every year. Isn't this draining valuable resources? This nothing? Like aren't the police going to have to spend hours and hours and hours out of the day showing up, filing paperwork, maybe tasering or shooting a minority that's in the vicinity just because they're a possible suspect, that kind of stuff? Like, that's eventually going to clog up the system.
They're surrounding me. I can take a
She's free to leave. No one is surrounding her.
No one is surrounding
Philip Schwartz, thank you for the $2. They're so scary, they threaten me with peace, right?
I'm a Jewish American. I need help. Please come and help me. I'm wearing a white Adidas shirt. I have a dog with me.
Did you not think that anyone was ever going to show the background, or that if it was audio only, it was gonna like totally be fine? Yeah, there's a couple other quick stories. Attorney. From Ari Drennan, the anti-LGBTQ plus fever is breaking thanks to countless people who took time out of their day to fight discriminatory legislation in state capitals across the country. The rainbow panic is not yet over, but a kinder future lies ahead. Push to restrict LGBTQ plus rights hits a snag in state legislators. So far, just 20 bills have passed, according to the American Civil Liberties Union, down from more than 75 last year, so going from 75 to 20 so far. Strategics on both sides say Republicans appear increasingly unwilling to stake their re-elections on cultural issues, though many Americans support policies such as banning trans girls and women from playing on sports teams to match their gender identity. Polls have found that the issues aren't especially important to voters. Few Republicans have parlayed the issue into electoral success, and as politicians in swing states ask for votes, some may be feeling that it's risk averse. We're finding this to be sort of a lightning rod issue. I think there's some legislation that'll try to back off a little bit, possibly to pump the brakes on what has previously been a more aggressive approach, because that disconnect that happened by basically, I say, hiring a lot of temps and younger right-wingers who would want to work on Republican parties, most likely come from the 4chan Groyper style of I'm terminally online, maybe incel adjacent far right kind of shit, who were probably telling a lot of their political parties, we have to make everything about trans kids, everything about trans kids, has to be about trans people, has to be about trans people, let's just do that. And it turned out that that doesn't translate into the votes that you need or electoral success. It just comes across as, again, deeply obsessed and strange to the regular everyday person who's like, why do you care so much about this? Honestly, if it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect your friends, it doesn't affect your family. I don't understand why this has to take precedent over, I don't know, healthcare. Maybe that would be something we could fight for and work a little bit on in pursuant of it. All right, let's quickly talk about this and we can move on to the weird ass Seinfeld stuff.
And the reason that he voted for you is because you're a decent man.
Over the weekend was the White House Correspondents Dinner, where a bunch of press come together with the White House and have a party. Now, this is usually pretty embarrassing, except for often, not always, but often, the headlining comedian does a great job at exposing some real truths through their satire, their comedy. I think back to Stephen Colbert when he was the headliner for George W. Bush. Larry Wilmore as well did a great job.
Yeah, if you did it right, you should never be invited back again. And if you're a comedian who respects the craft, and this is one of the best and most golden opportunities, especially if you could be a Trojan horse, especially if you have like a lifetime, say, of privilege. I'm not talking about the current person on screen. I'm talking about Colin Jost. If you have a lifetime of privilege, you've basically had every opportunity, come from a wealthy family, went to Ivy League schools, went from Ivy League schools right into SNL, and basically your whole life has been failing upwards. It's like, hey, you have a huge opportunity. There's probably not a lot of comedians right now that they'll feel safe, and they'll probably pick you because you did a half decent job of ripping into Trump. So it's like, yeah, this guy, he can definitely hit on those notes that we want. Maybe just like make fun of Biden a little bit, make fun of how old he is, just a light bit, not like it's actually something to be worried about, just enough to be like, we're in on the joke, but the joke is more that like it's a joke, see, do that, but then move on from that to basically making fun of Trump for the majority of it. Even though he's not president, people won't notice because they also hate Trump. And then, yeah, don't mention Palestine. Don't mention all the dead journalists in Gaza, none of that, and then go right into, how much you respect the president, how much you love the president, how much the president reminds you of your own grandfather, how decent he is as a human being. Talk about his decency, talk about how there's a lack of decency in politics, and then talk about how incredibly amazing Joe Biden is, and then put a bow on the whole thing. So if you had an opportunity where they think that's what you're about to do, and you got in there, and you went so hard that they cut you off of live television, and you're never invited again, yeah, you're a fucking legendary ass hero who will be remembered forever in the annals of fucking comedic and journalistic, honestly, history if you did that. Or you could just ask what toothpaste you want for the boot, right? Like what kind of polish is best? What polish should I bring so I can shine them before I just fucking gobble on down, Mr. President?
Job when Obama was in the White House. But this year was a little more different. It was embarrassing, and in some ways you could argue it was disturbing. So I'm going to share a couple of clips, one from the headliner of the event, but also from Joe Biden himself, and just completely ignoring the moment that the White House is currently in. This gets to the serious issue that was ignored throughout the night, and that is the ongoing bombardment and ethnic cleansing of Gaza by the far right-wing Israeli government that is currently being backed by the U.S. government. This gets to a boycott that was issued by a series of journalists. So from Common Dreams here, Israel's assault on Gaza, which has been fueled by U.S. weapons and diplomatic support, is the deadliest conflict for journalists in decades. Last year, roughly 75% of the journalists killed globally were killed by Israeli forces. This gets to the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate calling for a boycott of the event.
By the way, the UK is just reporting live now that Hamas has multiple times offered for an exchange for the remaining captive hostages, as again, a lot of them have been killed from the bombing campaigns by the Israeli government, but the remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for even a 40-day ceasefire now. And apparently it's being shut down.
Event in an attempt to try and get journalists not to show up. The National Writers Union backed this, saying, "We support the call of the Palestinian Journalist Syndicate to boycott tomorrow's White House Correspondents Dinner. More than 100 journalists and media workers have been killed in the past 6 months of Israel's war on Gaza."
Oh, another live update. U.S. found 5 Israeli military units responsible for gross rights violations. The U.S. Department of State says it found 5 units of the Israeli military responsible for gross human rights violations and incidents that took place outside of Gaza before Israel's latest assault on the enclave began in October. 4 of the units have been effectively remediated the violations, while Israel has submitted additional information regarding the 5th unit as the U.S. is continuing conversations with the government. The State Department's deputy spokesman told reporters. I think this is related to Anthony Blinken being questioned as to why you're currently involved in exporting such a vast amount of military aid to a country that may be in gross violation of international order. And it's like, and if there are numerous investigations and examples of this, and it's pretty at this point well documented, but even so, if your own department is launching investigations into the behavior of the IDF in this question, why are you not pausing anything? Why, like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like, I think you're duty bound to do that. I know there's like, well, there's some international order you can just ignore, but the idea of doing arms sales is in direct violation of, there's an actual act in the United States that you're not allowed to do it.
It's backed by the U.S. government. As PJS writes, quote, "By standing in solidarity with Palestinian journalists, we uphold the principles of press freedom and human rights that are fundamental to our profession. As a union of journalists and media workers who strive for truth, we refuse to normalize genocide, stand with journalists in Gaza, and amplify the call for a boycott." This was also backed by the International Federation of Journalists that represent over 600,000 media workers worldwide. Writing here, USA, the IFJ supports the call to boycott the White House Correspondents Dinner tonight. More than 100 journalists and media workers have been killed in the past 6 months of Israel's war on Gaza, backed by the U.S. government. Mehdi Hassan also came out to support this. He's, as he says here, "I've attended the White House Correspondents Dinner for the past 2 years. I decided not to attend today's dinner, which, to be clear, is hosted by D.C. journalists, not the White House, in solidarity with under fire Palestinian journalists in Gaza who have called for a boycott." And then this great quote here really contextualizes it. "To sit and schmooze with the president while he sends billions of dollars in weapons to Israel to kill their colleagues in Gaza is unethical and immoral," said Sandra Tamari, executive director of Adala Justice Project, which helped organize the letter calling for a boycott of Saturday's dinner. Quote, "To dine with him as he allows Palestinians to die of starvation by cutting off funding to critical humanitarian aid is despicable." Yet, a lot of the press appeared not to care, as they were there, having a good time, chilling with the White House. This gets to the speech. Now, if you want to show up and give a critical speech, as we've seen, as I said, with
that numerous people have done, that have kind of basically use it as an opportunity to be like, hey, I don't know if I'll get away with this, but I'll try as hard as I can, and I'll try to speak truth to power, because, I'm literally going to be face to face with the president of the United States. This, in my opinion, in terms of, like, I am a huge fan of comedy and comedy history. It is probably, if not the largest, the biggest opportunity you could possibly have as a comedian to do something on this stage. And at this moment in time is the other part of this, right? Like, some people I know push back immediately, being like, oh, what do you expect him to do? Fucking, you want him to be fired from SNL because he called the president of the United States a baby killer? What, you want him to fucking not have any more job opportunities because he did this and he did that? I was like, if anything, I think you would be seen as a far funnier and better comedian if you didn't play it safe. Like, aren't we always hearing that? Aren't comedians supposed to be the truth tellers? Aren't they supposed to like, oh, fucking snowflakes, cancel culture, canceling comedians while the world burns. Everybody wants a safe space. You can't talk about anything anymore. Can't do any. Okay, well, fucking go to town. This is literally you facing off against the American empire. There is no higher punch up you can do. This is like, yeah, the greatest fucking uppercut of your lifetime, of anyone's. It's literally the largest you can punch up possible. And then use that moment right now when no one was expecting it either, too, because, like, again, he's spoken before at the White House Correspondents Dinner. He's played it safe before. They probably wouldn't have rolled the dice with a lot of other comedians where they're like, we'd like to approve of your script first. And even then, yeah, I don't know. They might just go off script. We can't chance it. You know what? Do we have anyone safer? Or should we even do it? Should we even throw the event? You know, it seems maybe like it's going to be a little bit off-putting.
Stephen Colbert, for example, then great. You're going there to push human rights, to discuss real issues, to not just have a good time. Then
you could have told the same story, and had it been just as profound. You could have been like, my father, he was not a rich Irishman. He wasn't. He came here and he was a humble man, and he came from humble beginnings, and he worked his ass off. And I'm not talking about in the mafia. I'm not talking about illegally. I'm talking about he did everything the American dream said he was supposed to do. Work hard and play by the rules. And by gumption, he did it. He rose and he worked hard and he got all the way to the top. And that's why it brings me so much pain to stare you in the face, Mr. President, knowing that he loved you. Knowing that I too should love you, and yet I can't. All I see is the bringer of death before. Like, just go off at that point. Just roll with it. You don't even have to fucking have a script prepared if you were worried about them finding out what you were about to say. But like, use it. And yes, I dare contest. You may lose a couple opportunities in the short term from people being like, oh, how dare he? That was not appropriate. But man, you will be viral the next day. You would explode. It would be all over the place. Like, trust me, I saw the mainstream media on this. If you go to Google News, White House, or just look up Colin Host, I think it's all very, very favorable. All, you know, he did a fine job. What a good man. Colin Host. Colin Host wins over tough White House Correspondents Dinner crowd with praise for a, quote, decent Biden. His funniest jokes at the White House Correspondents Dinner. Watch as he roasts Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Ooh, 2 for 1. Colin Host, best White House Correspondents Dinner jokes. New York Times critics praise Colin Host's muted, vanilla White House Correspondents Dinner performance. Well, there's the first actual criticism. Colin Host's best jokes at the White House Correspondents Dinner, says Entertainment. Yeah, what a fine young man, you know. And he did make some jokes at Biden's expense, okay? There was one moment when he was like, you're old. And then Biden was like, yeah, I am, Jack. And he was like, yeah, I love you, though.
Then that is a good use of people's time. And that is what your responsibility is to here. Your responsibility as the person giving this speech here is not to the president.
No.
Your responsibility is to society, is to human rights, is to the spirit of what journalists should be doing. Yet, you're going to see, this is how Colin Host ends the speech, and I find this completely embarrassing. This is, I'm going in mid-sentence here because it's a much longer clip, but he's talking about his grandfather who recently passed away, and his grandfather's last vote was for Joe Biden.
He voted for you, and the reason that he voted for you is because you're a decent man. My grandpa voted for decency, and decency is why we're all here tonight. Decency is how we're able to be here tonight. And when you look at the levels of freedom throughout history and even around the world today, this is the exception. This freedom is incredibly rare, and the journalists in this room help protect that freedom, and we cannot ever take that for granted.
Where's the joke? Where's the funny? Is it like, which is wild, right? With you know, the 100 journalists dead in Gaza, but be awfully weird to tell jokes right now. You know, it's kind of hard to even hold microphones with all the blood on our hands. Ooh, tough crowd. Sorry, you wanted me to talk about how decent you are. Oh, right. Decent. All of you decent. Me decent too. I think I'm pretty decent. You're decent. Yeah, this is decent. Nice and decent.
Just a very bizarre few sentences there. One about the decency, we'll come back to that. And then about how, this freedom is incredibly rare. Yeah, made even more rare by the fact that the U.S. government that you are speaking to right there, that you are representing, that you are defending, is currently funding a genocide in Gaza. Look, I get the decency comments when compared to Donald Trump, who has no decency, personal decency, has no decency when it comes to.
Yeah, but like, do you want the person who tells you they're like your enemy, or do you want the person who tells you that they love you while at the same time they want to oppress you? That's kind of like the shitty thing about it, right? Because there are times when it's like, yeah, there are definitely a lot worse things I can say about like, right wingers who've just fully bought into fucking hateful rhetoric and they believe in like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, or that LGBTQ plus people are a danger to children, or any of this other sick shit because they just listen to it 24/7 instead of actually dealing with things that cause them problems. But then there's also just like the well-to-do lib who postures and at the same time will tell you things like, oh yeah, I deeply believe in the cause, that I can take a photo of myself attending once a year to put on Instagram to be able to be like, je suis Paris and Black Lives Matter, and that's what I care about. But could you please be a little less violent, or a little less loud, or a little less protesty in your protests, just because like it is actually getting in the way of some, decency. Some decent people want to be decent and enjoy brunch and just enjoy brunch and peace and decency. And yet y'all are out here screaming about how, we're killing babies or some shit. I don't know. It just doesn't really have decency when I want to enjoy myself a nice, fine, delicious meal. And don't get me wrong, I too enjoy a delicious meal. We're not here to start the discourse, okay? I'm here to say that, like, why does everyone keep thinking that it's just business as usual? Why, like, this shit isn't working anymore. Everyone can see this shit with their own two eyes. Why are kids getting radicalized by TikTok? Because they have eyes. Because they have ears. Why are they getting radicalized by social media? Because they have eyes. Because they have ears. Because like if you tell them, hey, by the way, Santa Claus ain't real, but yeah, that was a lie actually, then okay, they're probably going to be like, yeah, I don't want to keep pretending. I don't want to keep pretending that this is necessary for my peace, stability, and security, when it's like it's really just enriching locally a whole bunch of benefactors that are basically just the 1% of society. They accumulate more and more wealth. They accumulate more and more power. You colonize, you harvest the resources, you sell the resources off, you then build housing, which is increasingly more expensive in the area that had all those resources, and then you get all the manufacturing done in poorer places or by robots, and then the process repeats itself until only a couple people own everything. It sucks. Like, you can see everything for what it is now, and that sucks. There are other ways to do things too. Like, people have tried out other versions of this. There are a variation on this same system, society, going on in other parts of the world. Some of them better, some of them worse. We could actually learn from them instead of just wanting to, like, kill the terrorists.
Is overt racism and xenophobia. I get those differences there. But we are in a moment right now where this U.S. government, this White House, is supporting the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
Is making it possible, right? That's it. Like, this whole thing would not be possible had it not only been for the support of the United States, like verbally, but also materially, which is necessary for this entire war machine to operate as it does. They cannot forcibly starve Palestinians if they do not have the weaponry and the arms in order to continue to do that, and to impose such measures that again are bringing people to the very depths of human desperation. And then again, to do this simultaneously while pretending that like they're actually trying to put an end to it. Like, what was it, 4 weeks ago, I want to say, when Kamala Harris was like, and which is why we need to call for a ceasefire. You're like, oh, wow, she's actually taking a pretty strong stance. And she's like, for 6 weeks or something like that. Joe Biden's having ice cream with like Seth Meyers. Like, yeah, we're thinking a ceasefire is around the corner. A whole bunch of, celebrity chef aid workers get killed. And then Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are both like, yeah, I think Benjamin Netanyahu, not Israel, but Benjamin Netanyahu specifically, he's gone too far. You know what, that's a good angle. You know what, we're going to say that this is not an Israel thing. This is a Benjamin Netanyahu thing, and he's gone too far. And because of that, he certainly needs to be given a stern talking to. And then I guess White House Correspondents Dinner. business as usual. Thing keeps on happening. What happened to the ports that were getting built and that whole thing to be able to bring more food in because the people are still starving and getting bombed? And then it's still horrifying stories and video footage, you know, coming out every single day. Here's another family line wiped out. Here's another whole bunch of kids blown up. Here's another bunch of dead children. That's why people are protesting all this.
Any of this in that context, in the context of what is currently going on, is at the very least embarrassing. I'm going to get to a clip from Biden as well that goes to the same issue, but it's, you know, worth pointing out what this White House right now is doing. They're reportedly working to stop the International Criminal Court from issuing an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, even though it's, let's be clear, because of the power that Israel has, well, because of the U.S., it's very unlikely there's going to be any serious consequences for Netanyahu. But he apparently behind the scenes is worried that the ICC may come after him, worried for good reason, meaning he knows what he is doing. And the U.S. is working to defend him from any potential fallout from his actions. And keeping in mind, Netanyahu is a good friend of Trump. He wants Trump to win the next election. He is loving what Biden's doing right now because it's hurting Biden's poll numbers. It's both helping him because it's not leading to any real consequences for the Israeli government, but it's also helping Trump. And of course, it's backed by Speaker Mike Johnson, absolute lunatic Republican Speaker Mike Johnson, saying the ICC should stand down on this immediately. So he's also defending Netanyahu here, right along with Joe Biden. Now, while this is going on, it's not as if the Biden White House is unaware of what Israel's doing and unaware of their bullshit. Leaked State Department memo, Israeli assurances, quote, neither credible nor reliable. The U.S. government knows that Israel lies again and again and again and again. A newly leaked internal memo shows that officials at 4 U.S. State Department bureaus don't believe the Israeli government's assurances that it is using American weaponry in Gaza in compliance with international law, rejecting them as, quote, neither credible nor reliable. The leaked document raises serious concern over non-compliance with international law, specifically citing the Israeli military's repeated attacks on civilian infrastructure, refusal to investigate or...
And many have suffered grievous injuries. Other reporters have lost their freedom. Journalism is clearly not a crime, not here, not there, not anywhere in the world. And Putin should release Evan and also immediately. We're doing everything we can to bring home
For a second, I was like, oh shit, that's actually pretty wild. He's talking about, no, he's not.
Journalists, fellow journalists, Austin, and all Americans like Paul Whelan, you know, who wrongfully detained all around the world. And I give you my orders to Biden. We're not going to give up until we get them home. All of them. All of them.
This really goes to how empty all of this is. If you are an ally of the U.S. government, as Israel is, then you're not going to get a mention in this entire piece about how dangerous it is to be a journalist, how there are these journalists all over the world that are risking their lives. In Russia, he brings up how there's 2 journalists jailed.